With Father's Day right around the corner, I decided to make the ultimate meta Stasis Titan dad build. So I'm going to show you the Titan Outbreak Perfected build that will have you freezing everything and dropping your big old diamond lance on these ads' foreheads. So today, we're going to be combining our Stasis Titan subclass with an exotic weapon that will allow us to deal massive single target damage, that being Outbreak Perfected with rewind rounds, and pair that with an exotic that will give us the ability to essentially turn Outbreak Perfected into Wicked Implement 2.0. Now the idea of this build is to sit safely back as you freeze and shatter everything, spam nade after nade, and spread your nanites all across the battlefield as they wreak havoc on the enemies. Now we've made some other builds and lots of you have enjoyed those, but with the right fragments, weapons, and artifact mods, this has got to be one of the most versatile and hard-hitting Titan builds I've ever played with. Now we're going to go over the whole build and break down exactly how you should use it. We'll also have a Mobalytics link below, but having a complete understanding of how this build works will only make your life easier. For our first aspect, we want Diamond Lance. Defeating a combatant with stasis abilities or shattering a stasis crystal creates a stasis lance. Picking up the lance grants you the ability to hurl it at enemies, dealing damage and freezing targets on impact. Now with the release of Final Shape, we also saw a massive increase to the shatter damage to frozen enemies by a whopping 100%, making this significantly stronger than it once was. Additionally, this will also feed into our ability spam cycle, and when paired with our exotic armor, it will be the cornerstone of our build. But first, let's go over the rest of the aspects and fragments. So next we have our second aspect, Tectonic Harvest, where shattering a stasis crystal creates a stasis shard that grants melee energy when picked up. Additionally, with the release of Final Shape, stasis shards will now grant us stacks of frost armor, the new stasis overshield, which grants us stacking damage resist as more shards are collected. Now this damage resist ranges anywhere from 4.5% at 1 stack to 36% damage resist at 8 stacks. Now for our fragments, we first want Whisper of Fissures, which increases the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. And since we will be freezing everything, this increased damage will be a huge help against higher health targets. Then there's Whisper of Shards, which temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate when you shatter a stasis crystal. And the more crystals you shatter, the longer the boost lasts, up to 11 seconds. This is a whopping 500% increase to our grenade regeneration rate. Next we want Whisper of Rime, which grants us an increased frost armor timer and increases our maximum stacks to times 8, giving us 36% damage resist. Now for our fourth fragment, we want Whisper of Rending, which grants our primary ammo weapons a 100% increase in damage to stasis crystals and a 50% increase in damage to frozen enemies. We then pair this with our final aspect, Whisper of Conduction, making it so that nearby stasis shards track to your position, and we will have a ridiculous amount of stasis shards around thanks to our exotic armor of choice, the Cadmus Ridge Lance Cap. Cadmus Ridge Lance Cap's exotic trait, Lancer's Vigil, states that thrown diamond lances create stasis crystals, with more created when hitting bosses and vehicles. While a stasis super is equipped, rapid precision hits and precision final blows from behind a rally barricade will create a diamond lance near you. This synergizes perfectly with Outbreak Perfected, allowing us to generate diamond lances from precision hits, which we can then throw to create stasis crystals, and then shatter them for massive damage, thus creating stasis shards, granting us frost armor and more diamond lances. Now our exotic weapon of choice is Outbreak Perfected with rewind rounds. Outbreak Perfected has been around for a while, but with the addition of rewind rounds on the craftable version, plus the buff to pulse rifles in Final Shape, it has become an absolute beast. Rewind rounds refills the magazine from reserves based on the number of hits, allowing for continuous fire without reloading. Its exotic trait, the Corruption Spreads, creates Siva nanites on precision hits and rapid hits, which attach to enemies and deal damage over time. When enemies are defeated, the nanites spread to nearby targets. We also have the perk Parasitism, which states that this weapon does more damage to enemies based on the number of Siva nanites that attach to them, making this a great loadout for teams to run. We also have the exotic catalyst, Disease Vector, which grants us increased nanite damage, and enemies that die from nanites generate more nanites. Pairing this with Cadmus Ridge Lance Cap, which creates diamond lances on precision hits, will essentially turn Outbreak Perfected into a wicked implement as a pulse rifle with the added benefit of nanites. For our abilities, the important ones will be Glacier Grenade and Rally Barricade, and as always, the armor mods and artifact mods are on screen now, so feel free to pause and copy those down. They're pretty self-explanatory. Now the gameplay loop is very simple. Start by popping your rally barricade and throwing your glacier grenade. Then begin hitting precision hits from behind the barricade. This will spawn a diamond lance next to you, which can be picked up and thrown at ads to freeze them and spawn stasis crystals. Use Outbreak Perfected to one-shot stasis crystals and deal massive single target damage to enemies. Shattering the stasis crystals will grant you increased grenade regeneration and spawn stasis shards, which if in range will track to you, granting you stacks of frost armor. Pop your super to absolutely delete mini-bosses, champions, and bosses. Repeat this and absolutely destroy everything. This build is a ton of fun, and I hope all the dads out there enjoy it, and happy Father's Day.